had an interesting 7 days since we last met like this.
You think, Terry? Oh my God. Hi, Lauren, Lorene.
Why,
Lauren,
what's
now
going
I've got a
on?
bunch
What
of
did I
Laurens on
miss?
my hand. I had a bunch of Karens and now I've got a bunch of Laurens on my hands.
Or are you
Hi,
talking
Gerda.
about the
Sorry,
H
nothing's
video?
not right. Wait a few minutes and try setting up again.
Gerda, every time I
Uh-oh.
say your name,
Unplugging your
my
device
Google
and plugging it back in.
thinks I'm talking to it. So, hey, Cindy. Catherine, good to see you. Catherine from Colorado. Brian. Oh my God, we got a full house this week.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So, where do we even start?
The frontline doctors.
Oh no, do not bring that up.
So
I've been on fire all day about these people.
here's my vision. I said this on Sanjay's page. We get a bunch of people to dress in white coats. And we'll make a video to say that an enema of crushed glass and mayonnaise cures COVID.
Yes!
And I bet it'll get 40 million hits.
Oh,
Okay,
wait, everyone.
before we started the town hall, I had a parallel. Okay, I have two parallels to share with you. One parallel, it would be the equivalent of, I guess, a bunch of doctors or whatever, healthcare people, putting on shooting vests, okay, and giving advice on gun safety. We would start out with, always keep your finger on the trigger. The safety should always be off in case you are suddenly accosted by ISIS or
Antifa.
BLM,
Okay. When cleaning your gun, always look down the barrel because there's a bullet in the chamber, because that's the only way you'll know if the bullet is properly aligned with, and your chamber is clean. Okay. When holstering your weapon, always keep it pointed upwards at your face, so you'll know.
Yeah. I would suggest you twirl it.
And I want to wear an NRA patch and a shooting jacket, the kind with the suede patch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I want to wear that and give all of these pieces of advice. That's the equivalent of what happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the lady who said that you get.
Huh? It's just what happened, John?
Nothing. That was my phone going off because I had it
But
muted for
isn't
the
that
last
the
2 hours.
equivalent of what they were doing? They're posing as experts and giving all of the wrong advice. I want to grab.
One lady said that ovarian cysts were caused by having sex with demons in your sleep.
I never got ovarian cysts.
Well,
Alien DNA.
Catherine. It took me a second.
Okay, who was having sex with you?
I never got over it. I'm like, what is she
I'm
saying?
a nurse. I should know.
Horrible.
That made me want
Horrible.
to be a doctor. I thought, why did I not go to med school? If she got out in November 2019, I could have been a doctor.
Who did?
That supposedly one of the doctors on there had just graduated in November of last year.
Oh my
Dr.
God.
Stella Emanuel.
That's the one?
I
Yeah.
didn't watch it.
Okay,
I just
so-
read.
So here's
She went to medical school in Nigeria.
so first of all,
Not
you need to
not
know how to
research.
pronounce your name, Lorene. Is it Lorene? Lauren?
Lorraine.
Lorene. I thought so. Okay. And your full name is Lambertino
Urquizo.
Urquizo. Thank you. I've been like, all right, that's been bothering me. Now I know.
but it's Lorraine. It's Lorraine Boom Boom.
Lorene.
Yeah, say that. Yeah.
So the other thing. Okay. So this is the story I told before. Now that you're all here, I'm just summarize it again. Last night, my friend, childhood friend, who's a commercial pilot now, messages me and said, these guys, someone sent me this video of these frontline doctors, and they were hammering away at Sanjay Gupta from CNN. And one of his pilot friends asked if he knew if the guy that he had sent, whatever, he mistook Sanjay Gupta for me. And so anyway, so he's like, Sanjay, have you seen this? And I hadn't. 10 o'clock at night last night, and I hadn't seen it. And I'm like, Breitbart was all over it. Okay? And it was actually the Breitbart video that he sent me that has been taken down and scrubbed. So I watched it for like 20 seconds. I was like, and I saw one of the so-called frontline doctors talk about the harm's already here. We just got to, harm has come. We just got to deal with it and move on in life. I'm like, this doesn't sound like a doctor, right?
No.
And I just put it aside. So I left it. This morning, things started to escalate, so to speak. I'm getting now dozens of messages. Dozens upon dozens. Sanjay, have you seen this? Sanjay, have you seen this? And then I finally look into it, and then I turned white hot with rage. I was like, that's when I came up with my NRA, gun safety advocacy video in my head. I'm like, I got to do a gun safety advocacy video. I know nothing about guns. I've never even fired. Well, I fired one, but I know nothing about guns. So I'm going to do a video on gun safety, and it's going to start with always keeping your finger on the trigger, always keep the safety off. When you clean it, always look down the barrel. All of this stuff started popping into my head. That's what I heard them saying. Like I could hear them saying that in terms of COVID. All of the wrong information they're now disseminating. And then midday, I'm getting messages that this has now been shared 16 million times on Facebook. Okay? And 4 times as fast as Plandemic, it reached twice the number of views. And then my fuse was lit. Okay, I could not believe what was happening. Now, 15 minutes before the start of the town hall, I see in our resource page. Have you seen it, Terry? I posted it. I get a message on our resource page that says, let me read it. Here. All right. Nadine Olovich Macri says, Sanjay Amadoshi, MD, I'm hearing hydroxychloroquine, zinc, and Z-Pak are successful. I'd be willing to try it over death or serious complications due to the virus. And so I wrote, oh, first time on our resource page. I said.
Yeah.
So
It's like the guy who asked who was right between you and that article he posted, and you were like, I am.
next
That was it.
Yeah, I had to laugh at that Nadine one.
Yeah, that was absolutely, come on, man.
What are you doing?
Yeah, it's a nightmare. Hey, Sanjay, my significant other
Yes.
has joined the call. Robert Hansen. Yeah.
Oh, there's Robert. Okay.
Good
I-
evening.
Yeah, your comment on schools as being used by many parents as a form of daycare is the reason why there's such a push for these schools to reopen. A lot of parents don't see these places as a place that takes their children or provides them important and requisite education. It's just where they send kids during the day. So thank you.
Yeah, say at our school board meeting last night, we had a town hall format where we were discussing our reopening phase-in plan, and that was the thing that most of the parents were leading with, which immediately I'm like, well, A, you don't understand the purpose of the school, and B, you're being incredibly selfish to the other 3,500 people that are students that attend the school. So you lose me in the first sentence. I'm not going to listen to the rest of your argument.
Exactly. So do you have, well, why were you there? Do you have kids?
I'm on the school board.
Oh, you were on the school board. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I was the one drilling everyone with questions to confuse them and make them think a little more broadly of the budgetary impacts and health impacts.
Okay, so here we go, Robert. I'm glad you're here. What have you guys budgeted on top of your usual budget, and where is it coming from to deal with this year and COVID?
Well, there were areas where we were able to reduce cost, so that covered some of the outlays for switching to the emergency virtual realm, which is not what virtual learning is going to look like in the fall, obviously, because you had a quick turnaround in a district where virtual has not been offered in the past.
Okay.
Other than that, so far we've dipped into fund balance to cover the excess budgetary costs because we haven't received anything from the CARES Act at this point. And the Senate's finally talking about, they finally introduced a plan yesterday that has some school funding in it. It's unclear how that's going to end up being distributed, if it even gets passed, or what that amount's going to be. So okay. as of now, we're running deficits, and luckily we have a fund balance. Although, you know, the way cash flow works in a school district where property taxes come in one time during the year, state aid comes in at a different time, you're typically dipping into fund balance to cover everyday costs. So you're not doing short-term borrowing, which then would further bankrupt the district. So that's only going to last so long if you're dipping into that to cover excess cost for essentially creating a whole different type of learning for kids. And in the case of if we were to reopen, essentially creating two different school districts, one in a virtual realm and one in a physical realm.
Right. Now, I guess more specifically, have you addressed cost of PPE, physical plant expenditure for, you know, safety precautions, plexiglass, whatever, and testing? Has testing been considered?
That was some of the stuff that was brought up last night, because the primary plan is to start school virtually and phase in if and when we ever get to the 5% positive test rate.
Got it.
Like Karen mentioned earlier, we're at 9%, so we're a long way to getting that 5%.
Got it.
PPE, the governor was able to procure a large amount of PPE for not just hospitals and the National Guard units that we're testing across the state, but some of that has been provided to schools. So we do have some supplies there. As far as what individual classrooms end up looking like, I'm not sure that the administration even has gotten to that point because things have changed so rapidly on the ground. 3 weeks ago, you know, we were having kind of steady rates of positive test percentages, and then it skyrocketed 3 weeks ago. So I think whatever they were looking at that point shifted, and some of those other immediate expenditures as far as putting up plexiglass screening in classrooms, things of that nature kind of went out the window.
Okay.
We do have an on-site healthcare clinic for our staff and for families. So I did bring up the question last night, is that one way that we can provide testing at least to our staff and any family members that are on our district insurance plan, because we're a self-insured district on top of all the other concerns. So that's something that they're going to explore and get back to us by August 10th, which we will supposedly be having a vote on what our phase and plan will be.
See, this is where you need you need people like Terry and me who are we are self-described as just to the left of Che Guevara when it comes to so I mean literally I cannot stand the fact that our school districts do not have money to take care of and educate children. I cannot stand that our healthcare workers and community don't have what it takes to take care of the sick in a pandemic. Okay, I don't. This is me literally. I don't give a damn how many aircraft carriers we have or how many fighter jets we have. We have nothing to protect if we don't have these things? What are we protecting? A failed healthcare system, failing schools? Like, what are you protecting? You're failing like it's ridiculous. So,
Sanjay,
yeah,
we have police departments that have fucking tanks.
yeah,
And they're dressed out like they're goddamn commandos.
Yeah.
Going into a foreign nation, and we can't get fucking masks for teachers.
okay.
What the fuck is that?
Exactly correct. I saw a map of the area in Portland where the protests are taking place. It's literally one city block. It's four streets. Okay.
And one park. It's one block and one park.
Okay.
That's the total.
The rest of
area.
Portland is absolutely fine. No damage, no riots, no graffiti, no nothing. It's just that courthouse area. Okay. And did you see how fast extremely well armed, extremely well equipped people showed up on scene? When you have a bunch of people spraying graffiti and saying, "Stop killing Black people."
It's not just Portland. It's every. I'm not anti-police. Don't get me wrong. I just don't see the reasoning in dressing them out in per person tens of thousands of dollars in equipment.
Yes.
And we can't get teachers fucking masks. Okay,
No,
it's an imbalance. I can't balance.
Our teachers are now, what we heard today, and I want to go back to Robert for a second, but what we heard today is teachers in some of our poorest districts have to buy masks and stock them in their desks because they know their students are going to come to them because without a mask to school. And so in the case of a mask mandate in school, the teachers are now pulling money out of their pocketbook to provide masks for their kids. What's the name of the last aircraft carrier we bought?
It's the.
I don't fucking care. Don't answer the question.
I was going to say the SS Ivanka.
Yeah, exactly. So, what was my question for Robert? Someone help me. I'm losing.
Well, I'll say on the point of masks for students, we're a suburban district in Milwaukee County. We're one of the largest suburban districts. I think we're the 21st largest district in the state. So you have vast economic differences when you're east in the district near to the city of Milwaukee, where you're west in the district near to Waukesha County, which of course is the famous county that got Scott Walker elected several times.
Wow.
So you have a huge disparity in incomes. So you have, I'd say upwards to 46% of our students are considered in poverty. That other 54% don't see it. They don't think it exists. All they think is that they're paying too much in taxes.
Wow. Okay.
We have 42 different languages that are spoken in our district. And have you been to Wisconsin? Like it's not super diverse. You know?
I've been to Wisconsin.
42 different languages are primary first languages spoken in our district. So even communicating with parents is difficult as far as what these procedures are going to look like if we're to have in-person class.
They sell alcohol in the gas stations there.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they do.
Yes, they do. I believe there's some drive-through gas stations where you can buy your alcohol.
Okay, so that brings me. I'm going to ask Lauren Roberts a question about her. I think she asked a question about masks and face shields being optional in her either or.
Well, yeah. The thing is, I was reading the language carefully and I noticed that it says face masks and then it says or face shields. And I was just like, what? That in my opinion, like you said earlier, they're completely different. And it's imagining a bunch of high school kids who just have a face shield on and are just putting it up. I mean, it's worthless, right? And it's like, we live in Texas, it's constant AC circulation. They also didn't address whether they were going to be doing nano filters, how often they're going to change the filters. And it just, there's so many.
Are you near Austin?
No, we're in Dallas.
Oh, okay, so you're near Terry. Okay, wealthy part. How's your school
Yeah,
district?
it's the probably one of the best public schools
How
in the
many,
area.
how many,
So,
how many practice football fields does your high school have?
oh, I mean, um, a brand new indoor one that was like a
There you go, okay.
multi-million dollar. Yeah.
Okay, so are you
Yeah.
privy to your opening plan?
Yeah, it's not detailed enough in my opinion. It's, it doesn't, at first they had some specificity about like they were going to do, hallway directionality and this and that, and then they released this blueprint recently, and it doesn't include any of that. It doesn't have any kind of details about, they had previously said they weren't going to use the cafeteria. Now it's very ambiguous whether or not they're going to use the cafeteria.
Do you know your positivity rate?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know Dallas County specifically, but it's between 10 and 15. It's not good.
You guys are just okay. Back to
And the worst thing that wasn't mentioned today is that the state attorney general, I think it was Ken Paxton, just came out today and mandated that, we have a really great local judge in Dallas County who's he's just great. He's amazing, Clay Jenkins, and he's mandated that schools can't start until September 8th in person. They can start earlier than that virtually. But as soon as that came out, our school district, Richardson School District, said, okay, we're going to obviously follow the mandates. But Paxton came out today and said county judges no longer have the ability or right to preventatively dictate that schools have to close. They can only close schools in response to an actual outbreak. They can't do it based on any of the facts on the ground about percent positivity or anything else. The only way that a local county judge now can impact school closures is to be addressing an actual outbreak in the school, which is insane to me. I mean, it's Texas, so.
I was just about to say that.
So here we are.
It's so weird down here, and she's actually in a neighboring town, and it's right on the money. Is he the attorney general, or is he the assistant governor, or?
Yeah, I think it was Ken Paxton, and I honestly can't remember who he is.
Yeah, it's Dr. Mangala. So
yeah, exactly.
So, all right, I was personally impressed by Beth Ann from our local Crestwood School District. Karen Patton clearly is in a challenging, socioeconomically a challenging environment to be teaching in. Crestwood is more affluent, but not only that, I just think that they sound like they're really actually diligently preparing, doesn't it?
Yeah, they were really good, but it also just overwhelms me to consider the amount of detail that really needs to be handled, and then to actually think about, like, she was so empowered and so powerful with the way that she was presenting it in terms of like the human toll of just teachers having to manage all of this in addition to managing teaching is probably a hard enough job, and now they've got to manage this whole other level of socioeconomic issues and of psychosomatic issues and psychological issues. It's like, and then it just starts to feel like, is this actually even really possible to do without a massive amount of just like self-generated empowerment on the part of the faculty? They have to be in the right headspace to manage this. And it gets like really quickly like, can we do this?
The first time I lost a classmate was med school. My first year of med school, I lost a classmate. I lost 3 classmates, one each of my senior year. I mean, each year as I became more senior. So, and I still remember them like brothers, like losing brothers, And I lost 2 classmates from college in the World Trade Center on 9/11. And I still remember them, like losing them because those times are so formative. They're so emotional when you're young. That those experiences that you have with them, and I only began to realize how true that is when I saw my dad, who passed 4 years ago, go to his medical school reunion. I think it was 40-year reunion or something like that, and he was all excited to see a girl he had a crush on. Okay, she's a grandmother, right? But do you understand, like, that never leaves you? You know what I mean? You know,
Totally. Yeah. And
that
it's
emotional connection never leaves you.
I read something about a school in schools somewhere having restarted. Maybe it was Georgia or somewhere, like some, and they were just talking about the anxiety levels of the kids. You know, it's this whole other, it's like one thing to wonder if the adults can manage it and then actually be effective with it. And then it's like, well, you're not even, are we really even contemplating what it's going to like the kids, of course, they're just conceptually excited for the idea of seeing their friends again and of having something like normal life. But then, like I say, if the educators aren't able to keep this incredibly high level of just energy and enthusiasm and positivity and like in a way that is that's unimaginable to ask of someone, that the way that we pay our teachers to ask them to do this kind of a thing, like it's then there's all this, I mean, and just think, when you were talking earlier, just thinking about, yeah, it's one thing to wear a mask to the store or to run an errand. You're asking kids to wear masks for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I mean, people can say, I say all the time, masks are no big deal and we shouldn't be having this fight about them, but I'm not fucking wearing one for 8 hours a day, you know?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So I don't know.
He described something that the quality and safety people from Geisinger taught them, which is, you know, imagine you take slices of Swiss cheese. Every slice has a hole in it, but eventually you create enough layers that the slice above blocks the hole from the slice below, and eventually there's no holes, right?
Right.
And multi-layered approach to safety at the physical plant level. But the one thing that's missing, I think you hit on it, Lauren, is that one of those slices is the emotional preparedness and the diligence on a day-to-day basis of STEM. Kids are kids, right? And you have to accommodate for those lack of diligence or lack of discipline, I should say, from kids. But to maintain it across a school year, I was saying your first 3 months of the school year, your vigilance level has to be this high. And it can't tick down on a day-to-day basis. It may tick down once we get past Christmas, once we get past spring break or whatever, and we don't have outbreaks, okay? Then we can tick down. But that first 3 to 4 months, basically your first, between September or whatever you start, September and the end of the year, the vigilance level has to be maintained at a very high level. Otherwise, I mean, one break in the dam and you know what comes rushing out.
Yeah, and we have, you know, our son is going to college this fall, and he's going to college in North Texas, and, you know, they claim to have a plan, but it's mostly just you're going to be doing your classes from your dorm room. And so again, North Texas dorm rooms going to be basically, you know, it's like, okay, in theory these things could work, but in practice, like their solution was, okay, you don't come back after Thanksgiving, you basically, they're going to have a very long you know, winter break. But I'm like, well, that obviously doesn't solve any actual issues. So it's
world.
Yeah.
So Beth Ann Owens Harris is her full name. I want to go back to Robert and ask, so as a school board member, Robert, do you feel, were you impressed with the level of preparedness and diligence and study and whatever from from Beth Ann, because I was. And do you feel like your school district is as up to speed?
I was definitely impressed with all that they were doing. It led me to be even more shocked with what little detail our district had for a plan at this point.
Oh no.
Because I was not on that committee because I'm involved in other committees, whether it's we have a Southwest Area Schools Alliance, which is all the districts in Southeast Wisconsin. We have our CISA boards that provide a lot of the special ed supports to districts and specialty aids for say providing interpreter technicians if you have folks that are hearing impaired or you need to address those issues. You have kind of shared staff between districts through that. So when I was actually showing what the actual plan looked like and that it was more a skeleton than any kind of concrete plan, and then when asking questions like how are we going to be conducting screening, what about busing and transportation needs, and they didn't really have good answers for any of that. So they thought that parents could conduct screenings and that they could mandate kids wearing masks on buses, where we don't have our own buses. We contract out for that. So a bus driver from another company is going to be enforcing that somehow. And we're somehow going to be able to social distance on buses and have the same expenditure.
Well, listen to this. Down in North Carolina, another close friend of mine, classmate from high school, is a teacher. He teaches 8th grade English, and his district has told him that they're going to require teachers to ride the bus in the morning and the evenings to ensure social distancing and masking is adhered to by the students.
Okay.
Yeah. I like Robert's response.
Surely.
Okay.
They definitely have time for that. They don't do enough already. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So I just and I going back to my communist roots, I wish that we had a group. We could even call them the Center for Disease Control, or maybe even we could call a certain group like Department of Education, something like that, where they could set like a national strategy that fills in all the holes and gaps in our thinking at the local level. Of course.
And instead of having those memos have to be leaked by the New York Times because our pan-dummy president doesn't want that information out.
Sanjay, didn't you show us that 9-page 4-year plan?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, that's what we get out of the current administration.
I know. I can't.
Well, what was that the actual memo that was presented was something like 70 pages or 90 pages, and they somehow reduced it down to 9.
Yes, that's the one. Yes. And oh my God.
I don't know. We have a person that was elected to our school board this year that didn't know who the Secretary of Education was. Wow. So that's the kind of folks that we deal with here. I'm sure folks in Texas can empathize. Long ago I've taken the call in Wisconsin, Mississippi, which might actually be an insult to Mississippi at this point.
We're both live that I'm getting the feedback.
Do it.
Is it because we're both live that we're getting the feedback?
Possibly.
Yeah, it could
Let me mute me.
No, but I can hear Leslie sounds better than Terry anyway. So.
Thanks, Sanjay. That was nice of you.
Hey, I'm seeing lots of comments that if we do virtual, that teachers should have to take a pay cut.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're seeing those on our community pages on Facebook too.
Because that would save so much money. That would save tens of dollars. I mean,
yeah. Oh, is that because they're not doing babysitting?
Come on, man.
And also they'll want the teachers to supply all their own disinfectants.
Yeah.
Those little paper boots for the kids to wear in the schools.
Buy your own laptop and provide your own internet access.
Yeah. buy all the kids tablets so they can learn, you know, because the multimillionaire teachers have been soaking the system for too long.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of teacher bashing.
We should get Beth Ann and Karen back on here and bash them.
Now, this is the thing.
There was a big,
How many teachers want to retire in your district?
Oh, good point, Catherine. Good point. I've seen actually a lot more of that coming from the teacher community saying, look, I've got, my husband has this or my wife has that, and I can't go back into the classroom because if I bring it home, you know.
Yeah.
So
that's going to create a real problem as you get closer and closer to the school year, and no new teachers are coming on board, and you have a lot retiring early.
Yeah, that's definitely an issue here in Wisconsin. Going back again to Governor Scott Walker when they passed Act 10 and kind of led to a massive teacher shortage in the years following. We're still dealing with that when we're trying to hire staff for different positions. So when we're entering the school year, and if we're talking about going full on face-to-face 5 days a week learning, you're going to have a lot of teachers that resign. And that was actually something that I was happy to get our HR director to comment on last night, not only just in that situation, but also for the situation of substitute shortages, because a lot of substitute teachers are retired teachers. And a lot of them are not going to be willing to come into the classroom. And I got him to say in front of all these parents last night, well, I could probably get someone there to occupy the space. We would have a body in the room, but that's about all you would get.
And that did not faze them. That's okay.
This is where we messed up, though. We should have armed all the teachers. It would have made negotiating totally different.
Yeah.
You know
But
what I mean?
that's what we can do with our PR video. We can do our gun safety for the teacher.
yes, we could.
Since we know.
So
I'll just say to my better half, Karen, that goes back to their mentality of school primarily being a daycare for their kids.
I need to clear up where the snoring is coming from. So
Oh, I was
You're
wondering.
going to have guards.
Dog.
You're going to have guards and students and no teachers.
yeah,
Well, people love having complete strangers every day to abuse. They won't be able to. I mean, God, forget it. They're gonna go crazy.
Yeah, our school district had, they said they typically have like 75 to 100 subs somewhere on a list beginning of the year, and they have 8 right now.
oh my God.
Whoa.
So 8 people willing to be a sub, and they're looking to start on August 31st. They've got a month to figure out what to do.
This is ridiculous, guys.
Get your application in now.
Yeah, I mean, and they get paid like $100 a day. So if you're going to get paid $100 to go in and, you know.
So is John?
and
no,
no
John's-
benefit.
No benefits, no nothing. You get paid $100.
I'm on
Hey,
SSDI, so if they pay me cash, I'll totally do it. Under the table. Under the table.
Oh, come to Ohio. they might do stuff for it.
So
I have nothing to do all day. I'll totally do it, but cash.
I promised a second parallel story. So the one parallel story is our NRA PR ad. The second one is just here's a parallel. It's just an analogy because I just thought about hearing all your comments here together and various sectors of our economy, healthcare, education, logistics, all of these different ones, but the ones that we have focused on here, being entirely unprepared for this perturbation in our society. It leads, and our government, let's be very clear, our government. It leads me to believe that the myth of, or the veneer of our armed forces being the best trained, best led, best equipped in the world is also totally false, okay? The reason I'm thinking along those lines is because and this is how my weird mind works. So, and I'm not allowed to use this. I'm self-censoring, but they brought it up, so I have to answer it. Hydroxychloroquine is the Iraq. Okay, it is the Iraq. It is the invasion of Iraq. All right. So it does nothing. It does more to destabilize the region. It is ineffective. It's unnecessary. I could go on and on and on. But most importantly, it is invading the wrong country for the wrong reason, and then ultimately finding no weapons of mass destruction 11 years later. So for them to get up there, and whoever put them to it, I don't know.
Trump has money in it. These guys have money in it.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the only reason.
yeah, and it's got to be
Somebody-
a tiny amount of money. It's got to be in the millions, because that's how petty he is. That's how petty he is.
It's not just him.
So who put these idiots up to this? I'm sorry. I want to know who put them up to getting up there, and when they're matchy white lab coats thing.
Breitbart, wasn't it?
It was Breitbart. Okay. Are they that cheap?
Or advertising.
Know that there's blood on their hands for this, to advocate the masks are not effective, and
They
that
don't care.
They don't care.
Narcissistic thinking, I mean, it's no more than a breeze from the wind for them. That's the impact it has on them, because it's not their little brother dead, it's not their aunt dead, it's not their grandma dead. They don't give a fuck.
If they don't get hit, they're not going to change anything.
Go look
They,
at
I think they just get off on the no repercussions culture that we have, where there's really no one is going to ever hold them to it.
go look at the doctor in France that did HCQ studies, and then go look at Trump's personal physician.
Yeah, I know they're very similar looking.
They
Yeah,
are twins. I tell you, that is why Trump believes this.
That could be.
I am convinced they are like separated at birth twins. I think he thinks his personal doctor told him this.
Yes,
and that's why he did it.
It could very well be that silly.
Are we sure they're the same person?
It could be.
It's not the same person.
I know. It's
They're
Didier.
separate people.
Yeah.
At the time the hydroxychloroquine study came out, and it caused such a huge rush in this country, a lot of money was poured into the manufacturer stocks.
Sure.
A lot of money. A lot of people who are, have their jobs due to taxpayers are the ones who invested in this. And that's why it doesn't go away, and it's not going to go away. And you'll hear about it next month, and you'll hear about it in, August, September, October, November. It's going to keep popping up because now the US government has a stockpile of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't unload the stock of this worthless shit they're holding on to.
Yes. Yes, you're
Very
right.
smart friends who still think there's still something to it.
Yes.
Wonder drug. I'm like, why are you putting stock in this? There's nothing beneficial shown from any of these studies.
Absolutely correct. Terry, you nailed it, and Brian, you're right. Now, I have to turn to my molecular medicine buddy, Madeline, because we talked about this weeks and weeks ago. Interferon.
Yeah.
Interferon is now showing great efficacy, and even more curiously, the nebulized inhaled version of it, much more so, because I looked at the studies, and there's 5 studies on interferon usage. The other ones were all intravenous or oral, okay? And this study out of the UK was nebulized. And so that means it goes in and it's creating reactivity in the same endothelial cells of the respiratory system that are infected and then suddenly shut down by COVID, by SARS-CoV-2. By giving it, it could be potentially prophylactic, and it could be very effective treatment, because what it does is it revs up the natural antiviral immune response of the body. We do fight viruses. Our bodies are capable of fighting viruses. people should know that on a daily basis, our body fends off tons and tons and tons of infectious agents, among them parasites, bacteria, fungal spores, and viruses. And it does it very effectively. The things that get deranged that cause a failure of the immune system, we learned a lot about when we studied HIV, which was you have T cells that have very specific jobs, you have natural killer cells, you have B cells that have very specific jobs. And when the coordination of, antigen presenting cells, major histocompatibility complex, the entire cascade of what tells the body what the body tells the immune system is going on gets deranged, then the body gets susceptible to everything, opportunistic infections, etc. You see in HIV infected people whose CD4 counts have fallen below a certain level, they even get oral thrush, they get fungus in their mouth because the spores that we normally fight off, the body doesn't even know it's there. The T cells have been deactivated. So with interferon, this is doing something similar at the endothelial cell level in telling the T cells and other, it's a cytokine, okay? There's lots of cytokines. It's a leukotriene, in fact, that tells the immune system, oh, we've got a virus to fight, so arm up. And so interferon, curiously, and I posted about this, Cuba 4 months ago deployed their doctors to China and Italy at the height of this. And what did the Cuban doctors take with them?
Interferon.
Interferon. Huh.
So and the reason that, Terry, you reminded me to say this is because the stock price of the company Synergen went up 227%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you can't make money off of it in the capitalist world, even if
That's why I'm so skeptical of every announcement they make of a vaccine trial or some wonder drug.
Yeah.
It's like they're blowing smoke up our asses. I'm not going to care about any vaccine, okay, until one, it's effective and it's being dispersed. Otherwise, it's just bullshit. Any wonder drug is going to turn out to be another hydroxychloroquine. It's going to be a scam, and everyone's going to get all worked up about it. And we'll have just more commercials of these doctors in white coats saying, mayonnaise and ground glass will cure COVID.
Yeah.
So what about the Russian one?
So I don't know what the Russian one consists of. So
well, they didn't really say what it was. They aren't announcing. They're saying that basically it's based on a previous vaccine or something else, but they won't say what it was. And apparently it's going into phase 2.
Catherine,
it was tested first on soldiers. Now it's going to be tested on medical workers.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes with 2 free Aeroflot tickets.
Yeah, and a bullet to the back of the head if it doesn't work.
No, I don't.
The bullet killed you, but they cured you of COVID.
I think that part of this, I mean, first of all, Russians will tell you that they don't believe a god, unless they're Putin Russians, like Putin supporters. They don't believe a goddamn thing the Russian government says. Okay,
well,
so
that's exactly what happened to us now.
Yes, correct. So if the Russians are saying they're prepping and they have an effective vaccine, they're saying so because they want the population to calm down.
Yeah, because they have protests in Russia going on right now.
Do they?
Yes, they do. It's been going on for 3 weeks now.
Why? Too much pneumonia cases? Too many pneumonia cases?
Maybe it's people just disappearing. You never know. That's Russia.
It's just awful. Come on. So I wanted to punctuate this at the right moment, but the best vaccine that you're ever going to see for COVID is the free one. When there's no profit motive to distribute it, okay, and it's effective, clearly it has to be effective. That's the one you get. And that's not going to be available for 10 years. Okay. Because every single version of the vaccine is going to be patented by somebody, and that patent's going to protect them for 7 to 8 years. And that's the period of time that they're going to make the most money. And then when After that, okay, the reason that I want to tell the whole story here, after you've got 11 companies distributing vaccines for profit, and they've made their money, which will happen 8 years from now, these things will go generic. But by that time, we will know from our study of each of these vaccines which one was the most effective. And so the generic one that's most effective, that is the lowest cost and easiest to produce, is the one that you're going to want to get.
If you're alive in 10 years.
But you see how this
Yeah.
you see how this world of medicine works. This is the example I'm giving. You know, this is I'm not saying that my example is relevant to our choice of vaccine now in the immediate future. I'm just saying that in any in the case of any drug, you'll have 11 companies that have some variant of it. They'll all make their money for years. And the one that's most effective and cheapest is the one that you want to get.
Yeah. And the people who will survive this thing are skeptical and open to change.
Yes, correct. Yep. All right, here we go, guys. Time for John to shut us down.
Right.
I love you all. Take care. We'll see you next week.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Bye.
Thank you very much.